into the meeting as necessary. So I've started my timer. You should have, hopefully, the link to, let me share this for you. The quick shot, which is right here. And I'm going to go ahead and admit. So within the quick shot, you're going to be able to see that we do have a link here where you can jump in. I sent this to you via the email earlier today. And if you can get in there, if you have any questions throughout this, or if you have any questions that come up later, you can pop them in there and I'll make sure that we address them at the end of our short time. If this takes less than 20 minutes, piece of cake. And if you can't stick around, know that I'll get those questions answered. We'll publish this list with the responses so you can always check back to it. I am also going to give you now the presentation slides, which really is pretty straightforward because these presentation slides is just the project toolkit that you can access via the STLP super sheet. It is essentially we've made it a slide deck so that you can take advantage of jumping in here, sharing this with students. Everything in here has links. So it's all in one spot. And I know that it is something that I think will be helpful to you as you're exploring the idea of doing projects with your STLP. So let's start right there. The first thing to consider is, what are STLP projects? And do you want to get involved with them? And how much is it going to take? What is the focus here? So let me just start with that. The idea behind these STLP projects is we consider it, number one, to be a project cycle that takes us from level I, which would be happening kind of now at the school level, and working its way through level 1, 2, 3, and hopefully eventually on to level 4. So the whole concept behind STLP has always been this project-based, this problem-based learning, where students can use technology to help solve problems, to address issues or challenges within their school, their community, within their peer groups, within the world. The project cycle takes you through the year. And so it's designed to take you from now all the way through regionals, which is later in the fall, will be actually the first week of December this year. And then hopefully moving on to the state championship semifinal round, and the final round also at the state championship in April. And now that we've added level 4, that's this concept of how can we support you beyond STLP state championship. You don't invest a whole year's worth of work into a project and then it's just done on April 20th, right? It's going to keep going. So now we had this level 4 concept where we can continue to help you implement your project as time goes on. So with the project idea, it is, that's the slide I meant to be on. I'm sorry. So there's the slide I meant to be on. That the concept here is when we start with this level I stuff, it is really right now about inspiration, ideation, implementation. And as you work your way through it, you're going to get some core concepts. Why are we doing it? Okay. The first areas that you have to think about is, what is the challenge problem? What is the question? What are the students interested in? What do they want to solve? If we make it meaningful for the students, if they can select it, then this is something that is going to sustain them throughout the project cycle. You know, it's a long time to get excited about something, you know, in October and November and still be thinking about it in April. And you know, there's a reality here that what happens now and builds up to those level 1 regionals. They do some presentation and then it probably dips down a little bit for a period of time. But because of that student choice and voice, because we're going to let them ideate and investigate and get inspiration, they're going to pick projects that are meaningful to them. Therefore, when they think about doing that team reflection, as they look at, okay, we've picked our thing, we've presented to judges at regionals, what do we really need to focus on as we're headed into state? It's going to just keep rolling and build on itself. And hopefully it'll be something that you'll see your students remain invested in, because we know that above it all, like, listen, this is The exciting part of it is this competition aspect. It's about students presenting. It's about students having opportunities to be, in the spotlight. But it's all kind of smoke and mirrors, because what's happening in between is they are learning. And by using these rubrics to build these projects, they are actually addressing Kentucky academic standards for technology. There's some academic standards for computer science, academic standards for library media that are in there. It overlaps in lots of different areas. So we think that the project cycle is worthwhile. Those are the big reasons why. So let's jump in. Level I, that first level, which is kind of what's happening in school right now, is this investigation, inspiration, iteration, and ending up with the implementation phase. What's happening now through the investigation is this is your chance to get kids to kick off that idea and brainstorm. What's our project going to be about? How are we going to make this happen? And we know from experience that this is going to start big. What's a problem that we want to solve will be a big question. And they're going to come back with some massive things that are pretty exciting. Like, we're going to end world hunger, right? Our job as the STLP coach or the coordinator is going to be to help hone these ideas into actionable items. There are some resources here with some activities and some tools you certainly don't have to use, but if you're interested in some activities to get things started with problem or project-based learning, there's a great link there. And the whole concept behind the level I is this design thinking model, which you've probably heard. Maybe you've had a chance to dive into design thinking. Maybe you haven't. If you have, or you need a refresher, these 5 stages in the design thinking process link here on the slide will get you some resources. It'll help get the students. So what we're interested in here in this investigation phase is actually some activities to get the kids' brains working, to get them thinking about ideas and options. The inspiration phase, we had this wonderful resource in that over the course of the last, 18 months, we've done everything with STLP digitally. So that means we now have a repository, a directory of every STLP project that was submitted last year and every STLP project that was submitted to state the year before. So we've got a massive resource that one day with your students could just be spending time scrolling through these projects, seeing what other kids were interested in, seeing what the state champions came up with, and kind of getting a concept of what the levels are that judges are going to be looking for. The iteration aspect, what we're pumped about right now is we're really thankful to Beechwood Independent, Ben Lusk and Monica Wainscott, who had helped build this, the Real World Challenge Builder. And there's a link here to a slide deck that you can make a copy of that they've let us borrow. We've recognized that what they've done in Beechwood is they have really adopted from a curriculum standpoint. When we talk about STLP as your whole school, they've taken it to a different level. And really, it's kind of their whole district concept behind project problem-based learning, challenge-based learning. And so they have this amazing slide deck that you can download that actually will take you through a number of activities. You don't certainly have to follow the entire curriculum, but there are a number of really great activities that we have tested in the field that are wonderful for use with students. I would ask you to jump in there if you want to check that out. Now, the last part is implementation. The implementation phase means that you've gone through investigation, inspiration, iteration, and now you're to a point where you are ready to actually answer this statement. So as a team, your focus of the I stage will be to answer these fill in these blanks, okay? Our project is blank. The problem that we're addressing is blank. We chose it because blank. Why is it meaningful? Why did they choose it, that student choice? And then last but not least, of course, is what technology are we going to use in our project? Because after it's all said and done, this is a student technology leadership program. The project-based challenge incorporates leadership, but technology is a key component as well. That's going to be kind of the thing that helps propel it to the next level. And by next level, after level I, we're talking about, I got ahead of myself. So I mentioned before that everything we do is tied to the Kentucky Academic Standards for Technology. Specifically, when you see these rubrics in a minute, you're going to recognize some of the concepts that you see here. Here are the 7 core areas in the KAS technology standards: empowered learner, digital citizenship, knowledge constructor. You can see it there on the screen. Each one of these, by the way, links to a poster that you are welcome to download, print, do whatever you want to do with it. It's been released Creative Commons. There are folks who are putting these up around their classrooms because it helps. These are listed as I can statements, and it shows the skills and attributes that students kind of need, and it's written in relatively student-friendly terms that will let them start thinking about how they can answer questions about being an empowered learner. What does that mean? What does it mean to be a knowledge constructor? I put these here, and by the way, like I said, each one of these will link out to the poster, because when we get into level 1 projects, which, let me jump ahead one more and show you the actual rubric. In this rubric, you're going to see that the students, once they get to regionals and are presenting, they're going to have to actually answer these 7 guided questions focused on being an empowered learner, being a digital citizen, knowledge construction. It's laid out right here in front of them exactly what they need to do and how they can jump into it. Absolutely. So the ones, yeah, you'll actually, so when you get, I'll put the link in here, and it's also these slides that you're looking at right now, Blair, are totally downloadable. You can make a copy, you can have access to it, and then you can make an editable version if you want to pull any of this stuff out. 1000%, it's all there for you. And if you have any trouble with it, just reach out to me and I'll make sure I can shoot it to you directly as well.
Thank you.
You bet. So here's the big thing. Okay, here's the question everyone's asking. What do we do? Like, what is regionals going to look like? That's the reality. We can lay out all the rubrics we want. We can talk about the I phase. But right now, what is level 1 regionals going to look like? In the past, when we could be together in person, which the cat is out of the bag at this point, we know that asking you to try and get buses and subs and get kids out of the building and come to a campus, it's ridiculous to ask that of you right now. And so we're not asking that. But what we're going to do is we are going to have your students present on camera to live judges, just like it would be if it was in person. They can now use any tools that they want. So they can share their screen, they can have a slide deck, they could share a website on screen, they could even do a video in advance. Whatever they want to do to incorporate technology for their presentation is okay with us. They'll have time to actually spend with judges. And then after that, within this, they'll have about a 10-minute window, just like we would if we were in person. After they've given their presentation, which, by the way, we'll talk about that, judges will actually be able to ask them questions. We'll actually be able to have interaction this year so the judges can understand and give more useful feedback to the project teams before they advance on, hopefully, to level 2 at the state. Now, to be clear, I'll even jump back one. To be clear, we are talking about the project pitch. Whoops. We are not looking for completed projects at level 1 regionals. What we are talking about is a short, concise, here is our elevator pitch for our project idea. Remember, go back to that implementation statement. What's our project about? Okay, they've answered those basic questions. Now, when you look at the level 1 rubric, those questions expand a little bit. 7 basic questions, be able to answer those. That's it. It can be, here's what we're going to do. Here's what our plan is. It is not necessarily, here's what we've done, but it is, what is our roadmap? Now, they may have accomplished some things along the way. Awesome, because it will be December, so we'll have some time to start building some things and doing some things. But know from now, it is just an elevator pitch, simple to the point. And the goal here for judges is this is not time to roast the team. This is the time to really dig in and ask some helpful questions to help advance them. The goal of judges is to advance the team. They want to see every team go on to level 2. There's no quota, there's no limit, there's no ceiling. It is simply, how did they answer these questions? What feedback can we give them? And then give them time to work towards the state championship in April. So when we look at this rubric, you'll see they do match up exactly with the Kentucky Academic Standards for Technology. Know that they are not limited to the number of students on the project team, but just as when we do it in person, they are limited to select up to the best 4 presenters to represent the project to the judges. So 100 kids could work on it, but those 10 minutes spent with judges, you're going to want to pick your top 4. These are the kids who are the most enthusiastic, the ones who are great to talk. These are the kids who are going to be able to sell the concept to the judges. And if they can get the judges excited about the project, then we know that they're off to a great start. Level 1, pretty straightforward. As I mentioned, they tie in perfectly. Level 2, you'll see also is focused on academic standards, global collaboration, creative communication. It adds a few extra things, but here's what I want to say about level 2, because we can dive into that down the road. We want to focus on regionals and level 1 right now. Level 2 will be in person. What that's going to look like, what kind of space we're going to have. We have some pretty big, exciting ideas for that. We'll share that with you when we get to December and we get done with regionals, and probably 1st of January, we'll start sharing out those plans. If for some reason we have to go digital again, if we have another surge and we can't all come together in Lexington in April, no problem. We've got it covered. We've got 2 years under our belt of doing state championship, all digital. I promise you that we'll make it a great experience for your students again this year. Okay. So we've only got a couple minutes left. I'm going to focus. Oh, and by the way, let me jump ahead just fast, just to give you a peek. That level 3 project at this stage, if they've made it from at school, regionals online, level 2, and hopefully onto level 3 at state, if they get to level 3 judging, they're going to be on stage. They're getting an award. They're going to be recognized. Okay. They are a finalist. Congratulations. They're going to get a trophy. Hopefully they'll get named a top 20 or even a runner-up, or maybe even the state champion. But know that this level 3 judging is not about a presentation. Know that by the time they get to level 3, it's just conversation. It's telling judges why their project is amazing, why they should move forward and become state champions. And the judges are literally just excited to talk to kids, to hear about what they're doing. So it really comes down to, when we talk about rubric stuff, it's really level 1 and level 2. And this focus on level 1 is really where you want to be. Those 7 questions are what they want to answer. What presentation mode they use is completely up to them. I suspect we'll see a number of slide decks, which is great. Sharing the screen just like this. That's awesome. It's not a problem. The deadline, so next week on the 15th of October, I'll open up registration. It will stay open until November 15th. All you need to know for registration is a basic idea of the title of the project, and being able to answer these implementation statements. Our project is, there's a working title. And I say working because, yes, it can change from level 1 regionals to state. It might get refined. What you submit as registration versus what happens in December, totally different. We'll probably also ask for a brief 1 or 2 sentences to say, what is the problem about? Just in that registration, so we can kind of help make sure that we get everything organized really well. When registration closes November 15th, then you will be receiving information about next steps. The week of December 6th through 10th will be our regionals week. Based on how many registrations and how many projects we have, we'll let you know immediately after November 15th what days you need to block out, whether it's a morning, whether it's an afternoon. They'll be with you at school. So hopefully that will help alleviate some of the stress. And hopefully by then they'll also have some opportunities to practice. Once we have our registrations, we'll send you a practice list that is a packet of, here's the things you need to try, camera settings, things like that. We'll get everything worked out. For now, what's my project going to be? And getting registered will be the big things. Okay, projects are going to be great. Listen, I think this is something that we can definitely dive into your students are prepared. They're going to be ready. They've got tons of great ideas. This is where STLP really shines. We are always blown away by the amazing projects the kids come up with. And I will be honest with you, it's fun to watch from regional level when they're pitching their ideas all the way up to state to see how they've grown. And there are lots of times that I'm skeptical. I'm like, wow, that is a great idea, but man, that is a big project coming up. And more often than not, they find a way to revise it and hone it in to make it just be super sharp. So it's pretty straightforward. Regionals, guys, listen, you can't really go wrong. The judges are ready to hear from kids, and they're just excited to learn.